Him, he's not here. I don't know why. Sometimes technology plays this kind of things, you know.
Well, I was looking forward to it.
It's a tremendous businessman, and he's very, very eager to say hello and to be here with us. But I don't know why he's still. It's here. It's here.
Maybe our team can help.
He's coming. He's coming.
Okay,
1, 2, 3. He will appear in a couple of seconds. Yeah. So where are you right now? Here in Florida?
I'm in Palm Beach, Florida. Not my home here.
I'm in Parkland, Florida, so it's like 40 minutes away from you.
Oh, wow. That's wonderful.
Yeah, yeah. Let me invite him again.
Okay, no worries.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Hello to Chile. I've seen people from all over coming in here.
Yeah,
Colombia,
it's people from all over Latin
Colombia.
America. This is your
Yes,
first
wonderful.
time in Latin America,
Panama. Well, no, I've been down before and done events before, but it's been a long time since I've been in Mexico City. I did events, you know, even 25 years ago there with the Young Presidents Organization and so forth, and some of my favorite memories in the very beginning.
I'm trying to invite you, Ricardo Salinas. Ricardo Salinas is unable to join. Let me see. Maybe there's a restriction with his account.
There he is.
There we go.
There you go. Hello, you're here. Sorry,
guys.
We were trying to bring you in.
This technology thing really killed me here. I think somebody's going to get fired today.
No, but guys,
it's
a
right
pleasure
now.
And it's an honor to have you here.
Yes.
And for me, having you both in the same stage in Exma Fearless Minds to take away a lot of fears from people, it's a real honor. So Ricardo, welcome. And this special invitation for both of you is for you to get to know each other better. I think you already met each other, right?
Well, probably Tony doesn't remember because he meets a lot of guys. But since he was an important figure for me, I remember. Anyway.
Ricardo, I certainly know your history and your family's history, from selling beds to building radios to you selling at 10 years old. I have such admiration.
Yeah.
Look, selling honey door to door with your brothers and sisters.
Look at this one. You know this one?
Oh, wow.
Oh, I have one as well.
That's my old copy from way back in '86.
Wow. That's more. So you've been familiar with my work. I didn't realize that.
No. Yeah. Actually, I've cited it a lot of times in my social media. You know, people ask me what I recommend. I said, well, you should read this book by Tony Robbins. It made a big difference for me. So I always recognize you. It did make a change. You know, when I was very young, back in 1986, way back then. And I was just married, had 3 kids, and we were having lots of financial troubles in Mexico at that time.
Yes, I remember.
The book really changed my perspective, so thank you.
Wow. Well, thank you. You're very kind. Well, your success is pretty much unmatched in Mexico, as you well know. What you guys have built is extraordinary, so I'm extremely complimented. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. And thank you also, Fernando, for being with us.
Thank you very much for supporting us a lot, Ricardo. I know you have been
sitting here all
us
along
in the
since
different
about 10
media
minutes before, but I couldn't get into the conversation, so sorry.
Oh, no worries. No worries.
So shall we continue? Tony,
yes, please. Let's start.
This is a real pleasure to have you here, and I hope to shake hands with you soon when you come to Mexico City. You know, it's crazy that I'm now doing the interview. I usually am on the other side. But so I'll try my luck.
I really appreciate that. Thank you very much for that, Ricardo.
Usually the interviewer has to shut up. So there's my first question, okay? So how is it, Tony, that you became what you are today?
Well, that's a big question. Well, I grew up in a tough environment. I know you did too. You grew up, you know, with figuring out how to make things work, and I had the same. I had 4 different fathers. I had a very domineering mother, but who I love dearly and since passed. But she made me who I am to some extent because she was the most loving human being. But when she did drugs and alcohol, prescription drugs and alcohol, wasn't a good mix. And so she became really intense and was abusive. So I had to learn to be a practical psychologist to protect my younger brother and sister. And then those skills kind of graduated. I was always obsessed with understanding the difference in people's lives. Like, why are there some people you can give them everything, all the love, all the support, all the education, economic well-being, and they spend their life going in and out of rehab.
Yeah.
And then there are other people that life has stomped all over. They've been through injustice. They've been through terrible things, and they grow and become people that inspire us all. So I began to realize that biography isn't destiny. Because in the beginning, it's like, I had the excuse, well, I'm here because we have no money for food. You know, I'm fortunate today to provide meals for 100 million people a year. 1 billion meals I promised over 10 years. We're up to 950 million meals, to give you an idea right now, in 8 years. But it comes not because I'm a good person. It comes because I know what it feels like to have no food. So those driving forces made me want to succeed, but also made me want to understand and help people and know the differences in people. And what I began to understand, Ricardo, is that, as you know, there are patterns to everything. If you're good in business, there are patterns to business. You understand them, you know what to avoid, you know what to do, you know how to move, you know how to succeed. I'm not at your level, but I do now have 110 companies and we do $7 billion in business. And I have no business background. I come from nothing. But when you recognize the patterns are there are patterns in investing. There are patterns in entertainment. There are clearly patterns in human emotion. Like certain patterns will make you angry, they'll make you sad, they'll make you overwhelmed, they'll make you stressed out. And other patterns will make you passionate and generous and really grateful and excited. And once you know the patterns are not you, you can learn to train those patterns within yourself. And then what really took off for me is I made these changes in my own life. I lost, 38 pounds in about 30 days, and that got people's attention around me. I helped friends. Then it grew to helping other individuals. And then I learned some of the tools of neurolinguistic programming. It's a mouthful of words, but NLP is really the study of how words affect the nervous system.
Yes.
And the founders of this back in the 70s were only teaching therapists. And I convinced them to let me come into a class because I just wanted to help people. I wasn't a therapist. And unlike the therapists who had been conditioned to believe it will take, 4 years to get rid of a phobia, when they showed me tools that could do it in a few hours or a few minutes, I believed them and I did it. And I launched my career by going up to Canada, and I got on a radio show. And I thought, I was going, in those days, there weren't a lot of shock radio like there is now, but this was one of the early shock radio places, and I didn't know it. This guy starts attacking me and saying, who are you to say you can help people like this? Because people called up and said, can you do this? Can you do that? I was like, yes, yes, yes. Could you? I said, I don't care if you have lifetime phobias and you've been in therapy for a decade, I can help you in less than an hour in most cases, right? And so, that was a big claim. And so they kind of attacked me at first. And then on the radio, a psychiatrist called up and he made my whole career. Because what he did, Ricardo, is he attacked me and said, you're a liar, you're a charlatan, it's impossible to wipe out a phobia in an hour. I have clients I've had for 7, 8, 9 years, and we're still working on it. And I said, sir, I'm not being disrespectful, but I said, have you ever met me? He said, no. I said, have you ever met any of my clients? He said, no. I said, you've never met me, you've never met my clients, you're calling me a liar and a charlatan. I said, well, are you a scientist? He goes, of course, I'm a physician. I said, well, scientists would never assume anything. They would test it. So if you're truly a scientist, what you must be stating is your hypothesis. So I suggest you test it. I said, tomorrow night, I'm at the Holiday Inn. This is all live on a radio show. And it's free. Anyone can come, and I'm going to do some demonstrations. And I think you should come and bring me one of your patients. I said, bring me somebody you've never been able to cure. I said, I'm sure you have plenty of those, right? And I got a little funky with them a little, right? And he goes, well, we all have patients that aren't ready to change. And I said, well, I haven't found any yet. Of course, I've only done like 5 therapies at that point, right? But he told me about this woman he had. He'd been treating her for 7 years for a snake phobia. And if you know a phobia, it's an uncontrolled response to that fear, like a bridge or a snake or whatever. And he'd been treating her 7 years. And I said, well, bring her down. That should probably take me 10 or 15 minutes. And so the guy get really angry, and the radio guy cuts him off, says, see you tomorrow night at the Holiday Inn. So I show up at the Holiday Inn. This is how my career got launched. I get up, and in those days, I hoped to have like 200 or 300 people. Well, 500 people showed up, stacked. I mean, if the fire department came, they'd shut us down. People were standing in the aisles, and I keep looking for this guy. Now, I don't know his name. I don't know what he looks like, but I'm picturing like a guy with a scared woman on his arm, bringing this woman along. And sure enough, right as I'm about to start, I introduced myself in those days, obviously. I said, hi, I'm Tony Robbins. I'm here today to show you how you can make changes in minutes you probably think take months or years. And all of a sudden, the side door bursts open like a movie, I swear. And this guy who's like 5'2", I'm 6'7", right, comes walking in. He walks right up to the stage, Ricardo, and he says, here's the woman.
Here's the woman. All right.
He wouldn't even shake my hand. So I brought the woman on stage, and long story short, I sat her in a chair and I said, ladies and gentlemen, how many heard me talk on the radio the other night? Almost everybody did. That's why somebody showed up to see the shootout between me and the therapist. And so I said, well, this is the woman in question. I said, ma'am, you've had this problem for how many years? She said 7 years in therapy. And I said, okay. And the problem is, how do you feel about snakes? And I yelled, and she started shaking and screaming. You know, it's what happens with stimulus. So I calmed her down. And then I worked on it for 15 minutes doing these techniques. Anyone can learn. They're not special to me, but I knew they would work. I believed in them. I did them. And at the end, I yelled snakes and she had no response. And the audience was kind of impressed by that. So I knew she was coming, obviously. So I said, ma'am, just 1 second. I walked 5 steps back to the table behind me. I pulled out a little knapsack. And as I'm walking up to her, the knapsack is moving. People in the audience see it. And you hear people go, oh my God. And I reach out, I pull out this snake. And she did pull back. But she didn't scream, she didn't yell, she didn't, have this reaction. And so I'm holding the snake and she's looking at it like this. And I said, how do you feel about snakes? And she goes, well, they're not very attractive. And I said, well, would you be willing to hold it? She goes, and then she got a little scared. I said, ma'am, I know you feel a little scared, but you're not shaking, you're not screaming, you're not out of control, and it's a real snake in front of you. Think it would be like to hold it. And she goes, I don't know. And the audience starts going, hold it, hold it, hold it. So she grabs the snake and starts squeezing it. I said, don't kill the darn thing, right?
Poor snake.
But then that became my signature. So then I worked with people that had addictions to cocaine and then cigarettes. And then there was a woman who hadn't had an orgasm in 10 years. And I gave an orgasm, obviously, without touching her, right? Guys come in and say, could you teach me how to do that when I'm tired, right? So I kind of launched my career. But after that, because I understood these patterns, I started getting the call from the greatest athletes.
How old were you? How old were you at that time, Tony?
I was, let's see, when I did this piece, I was 23 years old.
So you were out there teaching people to self-help themselves at 23?
I was at 17, I started, but by 23, I was doing these types of interventions.
Wow.
Started working with Olympic athletes and then Mother Teresa and Nelson Mandela, and it just grew and grew and grew to President of the United States. And from there, and when you produce results, especially with sports teams or in therapeutic interventions, you build a brand, and that's really how I built my brand.
That's amazing. And that leads us to the next question. I mean, so many people are afraid, afraid to start, afraid to initiate the first step, afraid to call on a girl. So what do you do about fear?
It's a great question. I think fear is a habit. First of all, everybody's fearful at times, right? I don't care how smart or strong you are. It's not getting fear because it's built into the nervous system. We have a survival system that's 2 million years old. And a 2 million year old brain looks for what's wrong, what could hurt you. And then it either fights it or it freezes, hoping you won't notice, or you flee, one of the three, right? Those three responses. But that survival brain is still with us, but it doesn't have to control us. And it used to be protecting you from a saber-toothed tiger. Now people worry what someone said about them in social media. And they have the same kind of reaction in the nervous system. So it's like anything in your mind and body, you can train it. If you get sad all the time, you train yourself to get sad or worried or fearful or angry. But it's also the other side, like a muscle. Right? You can train a muscle so that you feel that muscle, that strength when you need it, passionate or creative or grateful. And so I explain that everybody has what I call an emotional home. You may not like the home you live in, but it's what you're used to. And so some people's emotional home is to be frustrated and pissed off most of the time, and they always find a way to get there. If things aren't bad enough in their own life, they complain about things for other people or outside world. Some people, I'm sure you know some people that, they're always joking, always having a good time. They might even upset you because they laugh so much.
Yeah.
They have a different emotional home. So part of what I train people to do is to say, what are the emotions you need that'll give you what you want? Because as you know, both of you, Fernando and you, Ricardo, to succeed in life, you have to be able to direct your mind and your emotions. If you don't do that, you're at the result of everything else that comes at you. So it's like an athlete. You want to train those emotional muscles. And I'm not talking about just being emotionally intelligent. That's been taught for years. Intelligence is a beautiful gift, and emotional intelligence, it's a capacity. But what I train people to do is a readiness. When you are fit, you are ready. Something happens and you handle it, as opposed to I have the intelligence. Lots of people know what to do, but they don't do what they know. So it's that readiness that I help people train into their body and nervous system. And that's why my seminars aren't 30 minutes. They're usually 3 or 4 days of total immersion, because when you leave, you're a different person. You're not just having some skills you intellectually understand.
When was the first time you heard that word, neuro-linguistic programming? Where do you come from?
I was reading it. I read a book called Frogs and the Princes, which is one of the early little books about neurolinguistic
Frogs
programming.
and the Princess.
Yeah, and I was
I'm gonna
at
write
the
it down.
time I was 22 years old, 21 years old. And then what I did was I read everything about it. Then I went to this teacher. His name was John Grinder. He's one of the co-founders of this. He was a former, he was a linguist and a former special forces guy. And I went and I said, you got to let me learn this stuff. There used to be these courses 6 months long for therapists. I said, the problem is these therapists are good people, but they've been used to taking 6 years to do something. And by the way, if they do solve it in one session, they're broke. I said, I don't have that problem. Let me show you that someone else can do this. And so he let me in the class. I went for the initial 6 months, but after the first month, I was doing these kinds of things and challenging people to an NLP off. Give me your worst patient, I'll handle it right now. So it's not just the skill, it's the belief system. As you know, Ricardo, it's a really different belief system the person develops who can persist through challenges than a person who tries it and then says, I tried everything and gives up. And those beliefs are really what control our lives.
Yeah. The underlying value system, which is I'm going to get ahead and doesn't matter what happens, we will get ahead. That kind of thing, huh?
Yeah, so, and finding the way, and in my case, I was fortunate enough to get a great teacher because I remember asking him, because, you know, I feed 100 million meals a year here in the US now. It's coming up to the billion meals as I shared with you, but it's because I didn't have anything, right? And I remember I went to my teacher, Jim Rohn, at one time, who was a successful businessman. And I said, I've had 4 fathers. I said, my mom leaves them all. I said, they've all been broke. We've all had no food at times, but they're good people. Why is that? And he said, Tony, you have to understand that we're all equals as souls, but we're not equal in the marketplace. And I said, what do you mean? He said, you have to find a way to do more for others than anybody else does. He goes, that's your nature, Tony, by the way you are as a human, but you got to translate that into your career or business. If you can do more for anybody than anybody else is doing in the marketplace, you will build a brand and you will grow. And he said, if you look at a school teacher does a beautiful job, but she has 30 students. If you've got 1 million students and you can significantly improve their life, you're going to be able to go to a different level. You know, if somebody who works at McDonald's, there's nothing wrong with working at McDonald's as an early job. They get minimum wage because anyone can learn that. It's not a lot of added value. Today, it's going to be replaced by robots soon, right? But if you can figure out, as you've done, how to build businesses that employ hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands of people, if you can learn financial pieces and bring more value, then you earn more. And so he got me to realize that I had to find a way to do more for others than anybody else. That was my nature, but it made me my obsession. And that's why I've got the 110 companies now in the 7 billion, because all of them became leaders, because I get obsessed about who is the client, who's the ideal client, what do they want, what do they hate, what do they need, how do we over-deliver better than anybody else, and how do we keep over-delivering by not falling in love with the product, but falling in love with our clients.
Yeah,
by the way, Ricardo, I hope you can have that opportunity to spend time with Tony during his stay in Mexico, because you guys have a lot in common in terms of philanthropists. I mean, there's a lot of
book, you know, we had to do something in common.
Absolutely.
I'll tell you something I'm doing next. I'm not going to put you on the spot, but I'll tell you what I'm doing next. I'm about to finish my billion meals, and I'm also sponsoring an X Prize to feed the next billion, like the new food sources to do that, where all teams are competing. But I'm going to the Forbes philanthropy meeting at the night before. I'm flying in all night to come to Mexico.
Wow.
Not my ideal, but I'll fly through the night because the night before I'll be there, and I'm challenging the biggest philanthropists, billionaires in the world to all put up 1 billion meals just like I did. 100 people will do it. Because right now, because of the Ukraine crisis, 40% of the wheat that comes to the world comes from there. And because of what happened with COVID, you have now, instead of 60 million people, you have 350 million people on the verge of starvation. So I'm trying to get those people to join. But when we get together, we'll see if there's some things we could do together. Great. I'd love to do something with you.
By the way, I'm on the board of the X Prize Foundation with
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I know it from a long time ago. And it's a great idea to have this prize, you know, at an international level with a big reward and have everybody think of how to fix a problem. It's a great idea. Yeah.
Well, we got a $20 million prize. I put up the first million, and then I got my friends MBZ and Sheikh Tanoon from the UAE to put up the other 20 million. So we've got it, and there's about 35 teams competing right now, and they're coming up with solutions that'll blow your mind. I'm sure you've heard about this clean culture beef. They're able to get the price points down and make it taste as good as anything you've ever tasted. So hopefully the final product can make a difference in the world by cutting prices and delivering this food to the world.
So Tony, another question. why is it that so many people sort of shoot themselves down? They sabotage themselves. They don't even give them a chance. I remember your analogy in the book about the little voice there, messing with your mind.
Yes, yes.
And so I know it has to do with that, but why does it have to be like that?
Well, it doesn't have to be like that, but it's like anything else, right? Gravity will pull you down unless you exert consciousness and awareness to move yourself up, right? That's just how it works. And so the defining element that affects us is that our parents are all amateurs. They're good humans. They love us, but we're all amateur parents, right? We learn on the job to some extent, unfortunately. And what shapes us most is this concept of identity. Identity is we all have a way of identifying who we are. If you think you're a procrastinator, you're going to procrastinate. Now, how did that happen? Well, you probably wanted to do something and didn't follow through and were mad at yourself and said, I'm going to do it this time. And it didn't follow through because you got fearful. And eventually you don't want to beat yourself up. So you go, I'm one of those. I'm a procrastinator. If I said to you, for example, would you like a cigarette? And you'd stopped smoking years ago, you're not going to say, what brand is it? You're going to say, I'm not a smoker. I'm not one of those. So our identity controls our behavior. When you hear about somebody having an identity crisis, turning 40 years old, and man suddenly wants a Ferrari and a new wife and so forth, whatever it is, what it is, they're trying to figure out who they are. They had one definition of themselves and they want something different because they feel time is moving forward, right? So identity controls everything. So think of it this way. If I use the metaphor of a thermostat in your room, and you set the thermostat at, say, 68 degrees, and that represents your comfort zone of what you're used to, not what you want, or what you're used to, right? People have what they want, which is a should, and then what they're used to, which is a must. So what happens is, let's say 68 degrees is your metaphor for how much intimacy you're used to, or how much money you're used to making, or the level of fitness in your body, or lack thereof. And if things drop down to less than what you are trained to believe, to say 65, 62, 60, somewhere in there, the heaters kick on and go, whoa, 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 you're a 68 degreer. What are you doing down here at 60? That's not who you are. And so we've all experienced that when things got bad enough where finally your brain goes, no more. I'm ending this. I'm starting this. I'm handling this. And you really did it. But it also happens.
When is it that you become who you are? When?
It drives you. What happens is you make those decisions about who you were a long time ago. Most people have not updated their identity. They may have made that decision at 10 or 12 or 20. But what happens is, if you get that drive and you drive back up to where you deserve to be, and let's say you get momentum, you start doing better and better. Now you're at 72, 78, 80, 80. Around 92, the brain goes, hey, what the hell are you doing up here? You're a 68 degreer. You're not a 92 degreer. And when that happens,
get down.
Then the heaters that were driving you stop. And if that's not, if the air conditioners kick on and you start sabotaging yourself. So the only way to expand your life, and this is what I do with people, is expand their identity, to expand who they perceive them to be. And the way you do that is get people to do things they don't think they can really do, or they don't think they would. Because when people say, I'm not one of those, well, when did you come up with this old definition of yourself? And so when you expand identity, you expand possibility. If you, for example, work out regularly, it's not because it's easy, it's because you see yourself as an athlete, or you see yourself as someone who's a health nut. Right? Consistent behavior comes from identity. So if you want to change something and make it last, you got to change identity. Otherwise, it's just a goal.
That's why you have people walking on coals.
That's one of the reasons. I used to do skydiving, but it's hard to get 20,000 people out of an airplane in the middle of the night, right? But the firewalk became a metaphor because you don't think you can do it. It looks crazy. It feels impossible when you feel those 2,000 degrees burning up at you. But when you cross the coals and get to the other stage, your brain has to go, man, if I can get myself to do this, what else if I thought was impossible I can get myself to do? So that's why I give people experiences.
So the other question was, what are you going to talk for 3 hours? But we now know there's a lot of stuff.
Well, you know, Mike, what I really want to do is not just talk. One of the things I pride myself on is giving people experiences. Because like a belief is a poor substitute for an experience. I could believe what China's like, but I've not been to China. I'm making it up, right? If I go experience something, it's different. So while people are with me, we're not just going to talk principles and stories. We're going to do some exercises where they learn how to change how they feel in a second biochemically. Not some fake pump up, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy, and your brain goes, no, I'm not. But literally teaching the best tools in science today that can shift you in minutes, because when you shift that biochemistry and you shift the emotion, you shift the actions. And when you shift the actions, you get new results.
So it's not just a presentation of words and slides going on; it's action happening.
Yeah, you'll see when we get there. The audience is going to be fully engaged.
Yeah,
And I'm
that's
pretty
great.
much, Ricardo, I'm pretty much sure that you're going to talk about inclusive prosperity, which is
Yes,
your concept, right?
That's part of our lives, right?
It's one of our themes, but I've always believed that your own identity, yourself, your belief in yourself comes first before you can do anything. So I've always talked about the need for cultural change, you know,
Yes.
and it's along the lines that Tony was saying. If you believe that you belong here and you don't believe you belong here, you're never going to be able to go up because you yourself will get yourself down again.
That's right.
So you have to believe in yourself first. And I think that's one of the best themes. And now I know that many young people are watching this. And so the last question here for Tony is, what would you tell the 15-year-old Tony Robbins what to do?
That's interesting because I just saw somebody flash across about Pitbull. So it triggers me because Armando Pitbull is a dear friend of mine. And he was, you know, he was starting to sell drugs at a very early age. And his mom had him in the car and made him listen to my tapes in the car. He wanted to listen to rap, and she made him listen to my stuff. So he knows my stuff word for word. But the messages that I would share with him, or that I shared even my own 15-year-old self, would have been, you know, the focus is the secret to living is giving. If you try to just go get things, even if you do succeed, you'll be miserable. But if you can find a way to add value, you can find a way to keep growing, you can find adding a way to get better skills, then you're going to have anything you want. So if you really focus on giving more than trying to receive, you can't not receive. And also you have a life that's meaningful, because, you know, making money is a wonderful thing. And without it, there's a lot of stresses in life. But if you do it in a way you're not proud of, in the end, you're not going to be fulfilled. You're going to have a lot of hate going your way. So for me, it's really understanding that if you work hard enough on yourself, your gifts will make room for you. And it's like, I didn't know that at times, and it was really disappointing, but you got to persist. There is no replacement for persistence. You know, whenever you see somebody succeed, you know, my grandfather worked for Walt Disney. He was turned down 302 times by banks, 302 times. He went near bankruptcy twice. And, you know, he built something that's lasted, obviously, way beyond his lifetime that continues to bring joy to people. I don't know of a person alive, including yourself, I'm sure, Ricardo, that hasn't had to persist through unbelievably difficult times. But that's also what makes you proud of yourself. If you look at history, people that have it easy, you know, I had a pretty tough childhood. I'm grateful for that. Either disappointment either destroys you or drives you, but you got to decide which. It's up to you to decide. You let it destroy you, it will. But if you let it drive you, you can find more.
You say it very well, because for me as a businessman, I've always focused a lot on my customers. Number one, because giving them what they need and putting them front and center stage is what makes us successful. You know, we all live off the customers. If the customer money is not coming in, that's it, curtains. You know?
That's right. That's right.
So
and most people, you know, mistake I think a lot of businessmen make today, and businesswomen, is they fall in love with their product or their service. They don't fall in love with their client. And what happens is they get addicted to the product. And today the world's so competitive. You don't keep updating your product, someone's going to knock it off, copy it, or someone's going to come up with something new. So I always tell business people, there's two businesses you got to run: the business you're in and the business you're becoming. If you only focus on the future, you're not going to take care of your current business and cash flow. If you only focus on today, you're going to get someone that's going to knock you off because you're not prepared. But it's all about knowing what the needs are and anticipating and over-delivering on the needs. And you've done that in business, why you're a multi-billionaire, and I've done that in my business, which is why I've succeeded around the world as well.
Well, anybody who's successful has done this, because otherwise you cannot do it unless you're a thief, you know. That's
exactly true. And then there's some other consequences for that.
Guys, I promise your teams to make this shorter, because what we really want is to invite people to be part of this unprecedented event that is going to be held in CDMX Arena this upcoming 21st and 22nd. You both guys are going to speak on the 22nd. So if you can help me, first you, Ricardo, inviting the people in English or Spanish, because I really think that there's a lot of people that want to hear to your conversation and, of course, your presentation.
Sure, absolutely. I love the CDMX Arena. You know, it belongs to my brother, huh?
I know. I was telling Tony's team that
That's awesome.
It's a beautiful location. But anyway, I'm thrilled to be able to meet you, Tony, in person, and to share the stage for a few minutes. I mean, I'm not in the speaking business, okay? I'm in the business, but I'll do it gladly, and hopefully we can have more young people inspired to go into business and do a lot of things for the community. Because what is business? It's just a coordinated, organized effort by a team of people to make life better for their customers, and we need more of that, right?
I couldn't agree with you more, Ricardo. That's the whole game. And I would just say, anybody watching, this is not for you if you don't have any hunger. If you're hungry, if you're hungry to be more, do more, give more, expand more, if you want to earn more, if you want to grow a business, if you want one of the secrets to transforming your life or transforming your economics, then it's not just me, it's a whole group of amazing speakers, including yourself, Ricardo. So I think you're going to find an experience you won't forget. And where else are you going to go in a day or two and get that much feedback to give you momentum to make whatever decisions you make or take your life to the next level? That's what we're here committed to do. And I know everybody who's coming there to speak has got that same commitment.
Absolutely.
This is an investment in your life.
Yes, thank you for organizing this.
Now, thank you very much. Thank you very much for accepting the invitation, and thank you very much for accepting this to invite more people. Because again, this is not something that they're going to spend the money on, but they're investing on themselves. And just by listening these 30 minutes of masterclass, I was like really, really excited to hear more about, of course, you, Ricardo, and of course, you, Tony. Welcome to Mexico City. This is your first time giving a speech in Mexico City, correct?
Yeah, first time in about 2 decades. So I'm really looking forward. So if it's the one chance I get to meet you all, I hope I get to meet many people there from Mexico City and those traveling to it for the seminar.
So the people that is connecting right now, you have the opportunity to go right now to www.exma.com.mx. That is exma.com.mx. And then you can click in whatever kind of ticket you are interested. We have some tickets for 9 days, and that's it, because we will have a full arena. By the way, guys, we are going to pursue for a World Guinness record. We already have one. You can see it right here. But this is going to be for the biggest purpose marketing event ever.
Wow, that's exciting. That's really great. Well, Fernando, congratulations on bringing it. And Ricardo, I look forward to meeting you in person, I guess, again, but this time at this stage of life. Thank you for the time, everybody.
It's great. We'll
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Looking forward to see you there.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hasta luego. Have a great afternoon, all of you. See you then. See you right here in exma.com.mx. Adios. Bye-bye now.
Adios.
Bye, Tony.